Man, all those trials and nothing happened. Nothing. It was
They indicted him and they wanted to try him on a political schedule. They literally, if they could have, they would have had him in courtrooms from March to October, a presidential candidate of the United States, and it's just not how the court system works, thank God. This thing shouldn't be sentenced now. It was absurd. They took a misdemeanor that the statute of limitations should have expired on, and they bootstrapped it up to 34 felonies.
It goes without saying that trying to defend the foreign policy of Joe Biden and Kamala Harris is just never a smart thing to do. You know, that's not a position that you want to find yourself in, but that's exactly the hole that Bill Maher dug for himself on this recent episode of his show. And newsflash, I know we're all going to be very shocked to hear this. It straight up devolves into Bill Maher's typical Trump derangement syndrome. So folks, if you enjoy the content, be sure to hit that like button and subscribe if you are new. So this conversation begins with them talking about the Iran nuclear deal that happened under Obama, and then they shift the discussion to Joe Biden. So check it out.
The Iran deal. I mean, I have the things here. Iran's stockpile of enriched uranium was reduced by 98% until 2031. The R&D, the research existing facilities redesigned so they could not produce weapons-grade plutonium. International inspectors allowed to access any site in the country anytime they wanted. What do you want?
This
is what negotiations are. You're not going to do better than that.
No, actually, you could do a lot better than that by not.
You could, but not have the other side agree to it.
But I think sometimes what happens is our diplomats, when they're faced with the opportunity to get a deal, they think that they should just make concession after concession, and the deal itself is an achievement, when in fact, in this case, it was a political disaster. For the reason is that really none of those really weak parts of the agreement, because there was a sunset clause, were adhered to by the Iranians. As soon before the ink was dry, Bill, they said, hey, here's all the list of sites you can't visit. And so the verification regime was very weak. It essentially gave a regime who you cannot trust. We know that from a 4-decade plus proxy war.
You can't trust anybody. That's why you have this in the treaty.
But it was inadequate verification.
Okay. And that's exactly the thing, and I guess my problem with the Iran nuclear deal. Let me make it clear. I'm obviously, as you guys know, not some type of neocon. You know, I'm not this guy who's constantly beating the war drums with Iran. I actually think that the intent of the Iran nuclear deal was a pretty good thing, right? We should try to de-escalate tensions with that regime in exchange for something like, hey, let's make sure you guys don't get a nuclear weapon. That's probably a pretty smart thing to do. By the way, that's also something that Donald Trump wanted to do, but his issue with the Iran-Obama nuclear deal was exactly that. It just doesn't make any sense. How are you going to set up a treaty that says, okay, we're going to make sure Iran denuclearizes, right? The whole point of this is to make sure Iran doesn't have a nuclear weapon, but you say to them, or they demand to you, okay, we're fine not developing a nuke, but please do not check these sites. It's in the agreement, right? You're not allowed to go and check these sites to see if we're building a nuclear weapon. I mean, hello, McFly, what do you think is happening there? What's happening there is the sites that the treaty says you can't verify are exactly where they're building a nuclear weapon. So this is the point. If you're gonna do a deal that is supposed to say the point of it is so that Iran can't get a nuke, how about make sure it actually stops Iran from getting a nuke? But we obviously know that's not true, hence why people like Trump, who are America first, who are not these war hawks who want to go to war with Iran, do simply sit there and point out, hey, that treaty was a joke, because it is a joke. It is a joke. Now take a listen to how Joe Biden and Kamala Harris continued a lot of the same stupidity.
Sunset clause. But what happened was even worse than the agreement was the sanctions relief that went along with it. That transferred, $100 billion, more than $100 billion to the Iranians. And you know where that money went? Into the coffers of the Islamic Revolutionary Guards Corps, and then increased the stipend of Hamas, Hezbollah, the proxy army in Syria, the Hashd-e-Shaabi militias in Iraq, and the Houthis. And then when the Biden administration came in, they went back to that same playbook with actually kind of the same people. They undesignated the Houthis. How did that work out? They didn't enforce the Trump-era sanctions. That resulted in the transfer of about $80 billion into those coffers again. Remember, there were $6 billion sitting in Qatar to be transferred to the Iranians on the eve of the October 7th heinous attacks against Israel. So I think the words you used, feckless, that applies to the Biden administration Middle East
I have
policy.
one more important question I have to ask you.
And they said that Trump was the one who was the danger to world peace. Yeah, of course. Folks, with the economy on shaky ground and increasing talks of a looming recession, protecting your savings has never been more urgent, and that's why I have partnered with our friends today at Goldco. In times of uncertainty, gold and silver IRAs can offer the security that your retirement needs, shielding you from inflation, market crashes, and the devaluation of the dollar. And Goldco makes it easy and simple to roll over your 401k and IRA tax and penalty free, giving you peace of mind in these unpredictable times. And right now, you can get up to $10,000 in free silver when you open an account. So do not wait until it's too late. Go visit vincegold.com. Again, that is vincegold.com, and take control of your financial future. And by the way, who does not want up to $10,000 in free silver? vincegold.com. All right, so there you had that segment. Bill Maher, as usual, trying and failing to defend the policy of this administration. Now take a listen as he has a full-on Trump deranged meltdown on the same episode, because why wouldn't he? Check it out.
Was the judge in Trump's hush money trial right to delay sentencing? Oh, yeah, that happened today until November 26th in order to avoid interfering in the election. Man, all those trials and nothing happened. Nothing. It was going to...
They indicted him and they wanted to try him on a political schedule. They literally, if they could have, they would have had him in courtrooms from March to October, a presidential candidate of the United States, and it's just not how the court system works, thank God. This thing shouldn't be sentenced now. It was absurd. They took a misdemeanor that the statute of limitations should have expired on, and they bootstrapped it up to 34 felonies. And wanted to sentence him to jail for it. I'm not a huge Trump guy, but this I think is absurd and wrong.
People are clapping in Bill Maher's audience. Hold on a second. Who did they invite? Who did they invite? I don't know.
The larger issue, obviously, is January 6th, right? And the problem is with the immunity decision, history is really clear. If you don't hold people accountable when they indulge in political violence, then you get more political violence. And I'm really curious about do you think conservatives will end up supporting a constitutional amendment to overturn the immunity decision if a Democrat is president? I wonder if they will.
I think the way these kind of decisions work, we saw it with the independent counsel statute decision that the Supreme Court has. In Washington, eventually this stuff always comes around and bites the other side. So right now, the Democrats are so upset the Supreme Court has done this. Then if Kamala Harris is elected and some Republican prosecutor somewhere in the middle of red America wants to indict her and prosecute her for some official act, the Supreme Court will say no, and Democrats will suddenly, wait a minute, maybe that decision wasn't so outrageous.
Yeah,
Okay,
I'll tell you,
after
what
all.
we've seen is this tendency on both ends of the political spectrum to score partisan points at the expense of confidence in our institutions.
Yeah, but Trump really does commit crimes. Let's not forget that little part of it. They're actual crimes.
That's what we're 60 days.
And the other side doesn't. Nancy Pelosi doesn't insider trade, which is illegal technically, The Clinton Foundation, the Biden family. I mean, what are we talking about here? But of course, right? Bill Maher's kind of admitting to what we've always known. Let's only apply the justice system to Donald Trump. And by the way, when we do so, let's also make it frivolous and ridiculous, and in many cases outright bogus, right? It's all cope. It's all cope.
He's out from an election, and I think we've normalized this a little bit, and it's far too freaking dangerous.
He really does commit crimes is one thing, and two, if the positions were reversed and a Democrat did this, not only would the Republicans go after him, but they would have done it instead of what the Democrats do. Talk about feckless, General. This is feckless. You had 4 years to bring 4 trials, and we get none of them.
And it's because they were afraid of politicizing it. Look, that's the thing, is that if Democrat did what Donald Trump did, you would be opposing him totally. And by the way, so would I.
Okay, so...
And I think that's the...
Okay, but the point is that the Republicans have not done this. They haven't. You can bring up a hypothetical, but the point is, it's actually only the Democrats who have weaponized the justice system against the sitting president. And Bill kind of admits there that that's exactly what they're doing. He's not exactly coy about the fact that this is really just about the fact he wants to nail Donald Trump, right? He wants to go after Donald Trump. And, you know, I don't know. Why are we even addressing it, right? The typical Trump derangement syndrome. What else is there to say? That said, ladies and gentlemen, let me know your thoughts in the comment section down below. Be sure to leave a like on this video, subscribe if you are new, and until next time, God bless and peace.